that's probably why they call it swamp crotch. Ducks have it, and they got it from a swamp.
I love when you think you figured something out. And I know for certain. No.
Welcome to Then You Ruined It, a podcast where two dorks try not to make a simple conversation weird and fail every time.
My son said something the other day that jogged a memory in me that I won't say it's unpleasant, but it was weird. It involved a boss I had at one point. So
your son coming home from the salt mine, he's like, man, boss is a real so-and-so, you know?
No, it's one of those things that your kids all of a sudden start saying, and it's like, you've heard that somewhere. Like one of your friends somewhere said that, and you're like, I'm going to try that on for size. It's like, you shouldn't say that one. Or, hey, that's an interesting catchphrase. Where'd you get that one from? Oh, okay. You're going to say that all the time now, right? Oh, that's great. I can't remember what we were doing, but out of nowhere, he just says, yeah, see what this bad boy can do. I'm like, okay. Weird phrase all of a sudden to come out, but
that's a fun one.
Sure. But then it quickly clicked in my brain. I had a female boss when I first started doing web design, was learning it. Like I learned it from the school I went to for it. And then in the on-the-job training, this boss would, stop by to assist me and make sure I'm moving along well with the whatever, I won't say activity, but just an example that she would give me to do, see how I did with it. And it's just one of those weird manager things. It's like, why do you say that all the time? And you can't say that to the person, but they do. And she would have me compile the code and, I'd hit enter to execute and make the SAS, or not the SAS at that time, it was CSS update. And she would always say, all right, let's see what we can get out of that bad boy. And she would say it multiple times. It's just her go-to thing. It's just what she says. And it's just, it wasn't inappropriate, but it was also just like, why? And eventually I was not listening to what she was saying. I'm like, what I needed to do, because I could not stop hearing her say, go ahead and hit enter and refresh that bad boy. I'm sure I have things that are like that too. That one has always stuck with me and is probably the only weird thing that manager did. She was a wonderful manager. She's higher up in our company now. She's still with us, but she's moved on from our team. But
she's moved on from that bad boy and is taking on a whole bunch of new bad boys.
It was always the exact same intonation. And it was like, I mean, if you said this to the wrong person, you could probably get in trouble.
Yeah, that intonation is different. Like if you said, yeah, let's fire up this bad boy, see what we got. That's the most normal thing in the world. But when you're like, let's fire up this bad boy and see what we got, that is a problem. That bad boy has very specific connotations.
Yeah, and I never thought of it that way. I was just like, why say that? And it wasn't just alone with one person. I remember hearing her do it after I'd been in several meetings, and she was the boss, so she was running the meetings. She would do it demonstrating something on the overhead projector or whatever. It's just like, so now we hit enter and watch this bad boy turn, and it's like looking around at all the other people, just like, is nobody hearing this? Why does she say that? Isn't it weird? I'm Larry David to some extent. Just like, why doesn't anybody else find this annoying? Because we moved on.
Because we're all adults, you child.
Yeah, I clearly have not cleared that hurdle yet, but yeah. And I had other bosses, I can complain about other things from other bosses, but in general, my bosses have been pretty even keeled and not terrible. I definitely had a male manager at Bed Bath & Beyond who
called you a bad boy.
No, that would have been, man. If anybody had done that to him, he probably would have fired you on the spot. I never heard him say it, but he was definitely homophobic. He didn't say he was, but I'm sure he was. This is a guy that, he had balding hair, but still a good horseshoe going on top. Shirt unbuttoned to an uncomfortable degree. Chest hair just pouring out, gold chain. I don't know if he was from Jersey, but he definitely looked like he was from Jersey. And I had chew spit bottles all over the place. I'd be looking for products in the back and find a bottle sitting somewhere. And it's like, you left that there.
At first I was like, oh, Jason is really judging this man too harshly just because of the fashion choices that he made. And they're like, nope, he deserves it. Send that man to jail.
Yeah. Don't know whatever ever became of him. He was a good manager. I think he probably was a decent store manager. I remember the day he had a heart attack and the ambulance had to come take him away. That was surprising.
Yeah, that would be.
So he was not bad enough manager for me to say like, oh, good. Now who's coming in?
Someone finally stood up to that bad boy. It was his heart.
It's a different person. Stop saying that. I don't want to think of it. It definitely triggers me, and I don't know how, but it's like, yeah, just uncomfortable. It's one of those uncomfortables that you feel for somebody. Like a lot of times I get stressed out because I know, I think I'm empathetic to a fault, and I know that somebody else is having a bad time, and that's making me have a bad time.
Okay, yeah, fair enough. I get that way of like, there's certain comedies I won't watch because it's too cringy. I'm like, no, no likey.
Yeah, it's not even cringe for me. It's just like, I know this person. They have told me they hate when this other person does something.
Oh, yeah, that, okay, now, yeah, that, also, yes, that.
And they're doing that thing, and my friend is, gritting their teeth through it, but I can tell that they are just not having this. And I wish I could solve this problem, but that's not going to happen.
Yeah, that's a tough one.
So, any bad bosses? I did not mean to say it like that.
You ever have a bad boss?
I'm broken now.
There are several things wrong with you, correct. No, my boss, I mean, like, obviously I've had problem with bosses, but it's always just like, oh, you're managing this incorrectly and I have to deal with it. Thanks. So as far as like just having like an interesting quirk or tick that bothered you or anything like that, nothing like that from a boss. But as you started talking about this, what popped in my head was my 7th grade English teacher, who was a rotund man, looked very like a certain motivational speaker who would live in a van down by the river, but a little older, a little less energetic, but he was always moved his arms a lot, and repeatedly, in front of everyone, grabbed his crotch a lot. Just like a quick, like, an adjustment scratch sort of move. Like he'd try to he's like, and so you see, when you take the preposition and you put it here, it changes the meaning of this word here. But if you put it here, it changes this word.
That would be so distracting to have from a boss or a teacher or a leader of any sort.
It was so bad that we would, across the school, have a running tally so we could see which period got the most crotch grabs. And everyone would count and we would keep track. Like, how many times did it happen in your class? 47. Ah, losers. We're up to 63. Ha ha. It was always double digits. It was never once less than 10.
If you're going to be in a public speaking setting, like being a teacher, you have to come up with something. Like if you're constantly addressed, I had teachers that were rotund and they just constantly, I remember one guy would, again, like Chris Farley, would just rotate, pulling up their pants. Like, because it was not the belt or whatever was holding them up was not doing the job, or at least not efficiently enough. So they just constantly hiking their pants up, and it was almost like a tick they had. Mm-hmm. And if they actually had adjusted their crotch, because especially you're a guy, so you know when you do that with your crotch, what you're doing, you're readjusting your balls.
Yes, absolutely.
So just think about every 5 words this guy says, he's touching his balls.
And where did he put them that was so incorrect that he had to constantly fix it? What were these balls doing? That is what I wonder to this day. 30 years later, I sometimes sit there and think, like, what was going on down there? Like, because when I'm in public, I will let a lot slide before I reach down there to fix it. There's been some pinching, there's been some tugging, there's been all kinds of chafing. And you just deal with it because there's people around you, especially children. And so you just kind of wait, and then you go behind your desk and you fix things. But no, he's up there leading the lecture, writing on the chalkboard, grabbing his nuts. Turning around, calling on a kid, grabbing his nuts. Explaining adverbs, grabbing his nuts. Handing back your homework, grabbing his nuts.
You'd think like one of the female students especially would like report him in some way. I'm just like, it's so uncomfortable. Can you please do something about that?
I don't think you could get away with that today. Like, I think in today's environment, someone would call him out on that.
Yeah, and rightfully so. But I mean, even back in the day, still, stop that.
Yeah.
But yes. Yeah, always find a hiding place before you need to readjust.
Or do the pinch and roll.
I don't want to ask what that is.
It's when you kind of squeeze your legs together and kind of roll them against to solve the problem.
Oh, that never works. That makes it way worse for me. That's like, yeah, trying to do a quick fix on something like, oh, that made it worse. Okay, we have to go back. Come on, we have to really fix this now. So, no,
Yeah.
I'll just do a quick look around. And like you said, no children around. Like if I'm near children on a playground or whatever, it's like, okay, I can't do this because somebody will see it and see the pervert that I am trying to hide that I am and assume I'm doing it while watching children as I'm not. Just, it's a thing guys have to do. I just shouldn't do it while they're staring at children on a playground.
It's the last remaining bit of chivalry. When your balls are itching, women and children first. Okay, they're not here.
You got Donald Duck in your pants?
I got some chafing.
Sound like Donald getting pissed off about having chafing.
He never has that problem. He doesn't wear pants.
I also don't have friction with your cloaca could be a problem either. And I don't want to. No, that's not a Google search I need to make.
Do ducks get swamp crotch?
I mean, they're usually on water. Or they spend a lot of time on water, so I would have to, yes. Unless they know how to dry off down there and just walk around and let it drip dry, then yeah, they have to constant.
That's why they walk like that.
I assume it's because the way their feet look, because...
No, that would affect like your feet thing, but like if you think of their waddle, it's crotch related. They're trying to keep their legs as far apart. And that's probably why they call it swamp crotch. Because ducks have it and they got it from a swamp.
I love when you think you figured something out. And I know for certain, no. He's no closer to a revelation than I am. But I'm going to humor him. We'll see where this goes.
Jason, I know a lot of things. And one of them is that I know more about ducks than you. So, yeah, don't make that face. What do you know about ducks? What's your favorite duck?
I don't know. Mallard?
You basic. Come on.
Sorry. Did one of those float above my body things. And I was like, what's this like? Yep. He's accusing me of not knowing enough about ducks. I told him one type of duck and he scoffed in my face.
That's like, what's your favorite kind of dog? I don't know. Brown?
I said mallard. That is a type.
It is a type, but what other types do you know?
I mean, I can't, a lot of them end with blank-tailed, so...
I mean, you got your pintails and your short tail, and there's probably a long tail, but I can't think of it offhand. But I mean, come on, there's wood ducks, there's Muscovy ducks, there's mandarins. There's all kinds of nice ducks.
True. I've shot most of them at some point.
See, so you should know.
I mean, yes, but I never cared about it, so I didn't want to know what kind of duck I shot, and I certainly didn't want to know what kind of duck my brother and my dad shot and put on our wall.
But what happened to the duck you shot? Didn't they mount that bad boy?
Damn right. No. I have no idea. I probably, I shot it, but I probably didn't shoot it cleanly enough, and I blew its head off, so it's like, well, we can't mount that.
Did you at least eat it?
I don't remember. I definitely had duck that my dad and brother shot. I don't think I actually ate the one that I did. But I could be wrong about that. I didn't shoot that many. I remember one trip I went on with my dad and my brother and shooting one so expertly because everybody else they given up on it. We're like, nobody's going to get that one. Just let it go. And I was like, I still got one more shell in the chamber, so I'm going to shoot and see what happens. And downed it, and here as it's going down there, it's like, yeah, way to go,
Jason,
the little guy. Yes.
And you're like, oh no, it was a mallard. Single tear.
I have no idea. It's possible. I just saw a bird and they were shooting at it, so I'm like, okay, that's one of the birds I can shoot.
I mean, that is the whole point of group hunting.
Yes. Yeah. It was fun. I have no compulsion to do it ever again, and that was a rural life. I left the rural life behind. No more killing ducks for me. We only see them on ponds, and they're fun to feed. If they fly off and somebody else kills them, that's not my problem. I did my part. I gave them cut grapes, and they enjoyed them.
Wait, grapes? Are these ducks on the same diet you are?
No, but they cut grapes in half, and they really like them. It's better for them than, rice and bread.
So, real quick, went to a wedding reception 2 days ago. And instead of the old rice tradition, because that's bad for birds, they gave us all massive sparklers, and we made like a hall of sparklers for them to walk through. and there were sparkles going all over and getting down her dress and everything, and it was very painful. But it looked nice. And it reminded me of my uncle's wedding, where instead of rice, we threw metal confetti, because rice was bad for birds, but metal confetti you can just throw anywhere. And one of it got in my aunt's eye. And she was just like, couldn't get it out. So she's like, I can't leave. We got to get this out of my eye. It was hilarious.
Pointing out the obvious, but you didn't throw metal confetti, because metal confetti is not a thing. You threw shrapnel.
It was confetti that hurt if it got in your eye. I don't know the word for that.
I mean, confetti, if anything gets in your eye that's not supposed to be there, it's probably going to hurt.
Yeah, but this was like confetti, I think, is paper. This was like industrial grade glitter.
Worst idea. Glitter, oh my God. If that had happened at a wedding I went to, or my own wedding, I would just murder all those people. It's like, how dare you? This glitter will be with us for the rest of our lives. I know, just like your marriage. Shut up. That is not the point. Sentiment does not matter when it pisses off one half of the bridal party.
Thank you for joining us for another episode of Then You Ruined It. If you enjoy our flavor of nonsense, please like and subscribe wherever you found us. And please share with your friends and cooler family members.